All right, I wrote this in the car when we were traveling, so it's not on the printed paper because I didn't have that with me. But adding matrices, same size, just add each element. Okay, so like this one with this one, this one with this one, so forth. Subtracting, you got to subtract each piece. So like you'd have to do 1 minus a -1, 2 minus a -2, and so forth. I just like to add the opposite and then just add like money, debt, money, debt. If they're different sizes, you cannot add or subtract. Does not work. Multiplying, it might. It depends on that row column thing, but adding and subtracting, it's kind of like you're combining cells in Excel and they have to, the table has to be the same size. All right, next one, determinant. So this had an X in it. So what I did is I looked for where there's lots of zeros. So first I expanded here. So I had a 0, X, and another 0. -1 to whatever power with a determinant, -1 to without whatever power with a determinant, and -1 to whatever power with a determinant. These are going to be 0, so I didn't really worry about those. All right, -1. Where did I expand? I expanded down this column, right? So this is what? This first one would have been 1 plus 2. That would have been 3. This is row 2, column 2. So that's to the 4th power. And if I get rid of this, right? Okay, so I'm expanding right here. Okay. And then, so if I get rid of that, all right, and I get rid of that, then my minor is -2, 0. What is it? -4, -1. So did the math there. And when I got my answer, remember, it has to equal -4. So then I could solve my equation. Another one is probably expanding over the first row. That might seem more normal. So -2, 0, 0. So I wrote -2, 0, 0. I really didn't mess with these too much. -1, don't care. They're going to be 0. But right here, I expanded right in this first row, right? So the -2 is row 1, column 1. So that's 1 plus 1 is 2. I mean, if I cared about this guy, he would be what? Then a 3, and this guy would be a 4, but they're going to equal 0. All right, I did this. I cross multiplied. That's an X. So I got that. And then I get -2, or -2 times -x, 2x, and then divide. Again, remember the answer equals a -4, so then I can solve for my X. Something like that, if I give it to you, would be more extra credit, but you should be able to do a determinant. All right, I just did the fake Gauss-Jordan. I like it better. Oh, actually, I did both. Wow, I forgot doing that. So in this one, you just keep the numbers the way they are. Your goal is to get a 0. So 4 and 3, 12 and -12 make a 0. And you always pivot here first. Then scratch paper, new row. Then over here, you want to get this 0 second. So 32 and -32 make a 0. And then at the end, you divide. So divide to get a 1. So -16, divide across. And then here I want a 1, divide by 32 across. Showed that down here. So my answers are 1x equals 3, 1y equals 4. And there I got that. Okay. That is fake Gauss-Jordan. I like it better because you don't get fractions that way. Okay. There's no way to get a fraction because you're dealing with integers. All right. This is the real Gauss-Jordan. Okay, in the real, you have to get a 1. You can't leave it a 4. You're like, no matter what, you have to get a 1. So you divide by 4 and you get a 1. Then you multiply by the opposite. So the opposite of 3 is a -3. You multiply, get your new row, add, and then you get your new row down here. Okay, then your pivot moves over here to the -8. Now you have to make that a 1. So again, divide by -8 to get it. This is where, when you divide, you might get a fraction. So 0, 1, 4. Look above it, 2. The opposite of 2 is a -2. So you multiply this row by -2, add it to the other guy, and you get a new row. Put that in there. And then they're already 1s. So you get 1x equals 3, 1y equals 4. Okay. Potentially, though, you could get fractions on this, which is why I do the fake instead. But that's up to you. Okay, you do either one on the test. And again, you have to show kind of all your steps. All right, let's see. The next one is the A inverse B method. So A is just all the coefficients over here, no X's or Y's. B is your answer matrix, just those. The X is just your XY, okay, just your variables. On a calculator, and you'd use Desmos matrix, edit A, edit B, and then on a calculator, just do A inverse B. So just, you know, you can just type in A inverse B on a calculator. So enter A, enter B, A inverse B, and it'll just spit out the answer, okay? I would normally do reduce row echelon form. So if it were me, what I would like better is, you know, 4, 8, 3, -2, 44. And again, I grab my pen, that doesn't work. I would just do reduce row echelon form that. I don't know where my pen went. So I would do reduce row echelon form. I think in the video I talk about that in another video that I made. What is that? 44 and 1, yeah. So I would just do this, call it, you know, whatever, A, all of it A, and do reduce row echelon form. But this is another method, okay? So, but I prefer this because less editing, just make one big matrix and have the calculator pivot it for you. All right, now Cramer's rule. This is extra credit on the test. The D is your coefficient determinant, okay? What we call dx is we write our normal D, 4, 3, 8, -2, but we cross off the x part and replace it with the answer part. So you put 44, 1 there instead. dy is you take D, you cross off the y column and replace it with the answers that are over there, okay? Then you do the determinant, so done, done. And I would only give you a 2 by 2 on these. I won't give you a 3 by 3, okay? And so I got my determinants for D, the normal D, dx with the x replaced, dy with a y replaced. All right, so how do you get x and y? Dx divided by d, which makes sense, dx is on top because you care about x, right? Divide those, you get x. dy divided by the answer to d, you get your y, which I think Cramer's rule is kind of fun. I actually like it. All right, next page on the review. This was a story problem. And so you have a total of all your things. You have a value. And there was a typo on that. That's 10,000. So I apologize. And then you have the value, which is your interest rates. And then there's a comparison that, you know, corporate bonds must be half of the other. So if I take half of this big amount, it should equal this smaller amount. And then again, you have to bring that over. So subtract it from both sides so that you get it in the right format, because matrices have to be X's, Y's, Z's, then answers. And if you have none of them, you put a 0. So on the calculator, Desmos, I went ahead and went to Desmos matrix and typed this in. This is what RC code. This is a 3 by 4, right? And then I did reduce row echelon form on that, and it spit out the answer 4,000, 4,000, 2,000. So what is my X? Treasury bills, so that I need $4,000 of those. Treasury bonds, I need to invest 4,000 in those. And then my Z is corporate bonds. I need to invest 2,000 in those. So this one, again, we didn't do tons with story problems, so I don't think I put a lot on the test. All right, and then the last one, this is also going to be extra credit on the test. So this is like the lab we did when we did encrypting. All right. So A is 1, 1, 2, 3. This is what we used in the video, right? And it was also in that book. We're going to use A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, Z is 26, space is 27. All right, so cat is 3 letters, but I need 4 to do this. So I went and did C-A-T with a space. So that'd be 3, 1, 20, 27. Dog, same thing. I did 4 because, you know, how else? You can't do 3 letters. So I did 4, 15, 7, 27, okay, with a space at the end. All right, so again, you can't take a 2 by 2 by 1 by 2, doesn't work. So I knew I had to enter my calculator, the 1 by 2 first, then the 2 by 2. So I did the cat, right, like the first part, 3, 1 times A, coded that. Then I took the second part, 2027 times A, and coded that. I did the same for dog. Took the original, what I had over here, DO, but in number form, times A, and then the G27 times A, and I got those, okay? Now, on the decrypting side, or on the decoding side, then what you're going to do then is you need A inverse, because that will undo it. So like if I send this to you, you're going to take that times A inverse, and you're going to get 3, 1. You're going to take this times A inverse and get that. And then you're going to be like, oh, 3 is what? C, yay. 1 is A. 20 is, where's my 20? T. And 27 is space. And then you can get it, that it's cat. Okay. All right. But again, that would be extra credit on the test. So Cramer's rule and encrypting using matrices would be extra credit. All right, hopefully that helps.